I literally had deja vu today that we had already recorded this because I've watched it so many times because we were supposed to record it like a long time ago.
And then like 10 documentaries came out that everyone wanted us to do, so it got bumped.
But in my brain, I could hear the conversation we'd had about it, and no, we didn't do it.
No.
I had to like search the Dropbox. I'm like, I think we did this.
Buckle up, Buttercup. We're doing it now.
Hi, Jillian Benzavali.
Hi, Patrick Hines.
Oh, it's been a while since you called me Buttercup. I'm going to take the win.
Have I ever?
Maybe once or twice.
Hit the lamp. Sorry, lamp. She's apologizing to inanimate objects, everybody. This is where we are.
This is what we're leaving behind in 2024. Yeah. We are leaving that shit behind.
Let me tell you, buy exclamation points in emails.
Oh, really? How do we get rid of it? You got to teach me.
I don't know. I'm going to try to do it and then be anxious about it for the rest of the day.
Fam, before we get into this thing, we got to talk about the book club. So we are doing a TCO book club. A couple hundred of you have already signed up for it. So here's the thing. There is a pinned post in the Facebook group that is a Google form. All you got to do is fill it out. That is how you join. You get to select whether you want reminders via text message or you want via email. Sasha is putting together a monthly newsletter.
Fantastic.
Sasha is taking this and running with it. It is going to be so amazing. You're going to be up to date. You're going to know well ahead of time what the book is, when the meeting is. If you can't make it to the meeting, you can talk about it in the group. Sasha's really going for it with the book club.
Because reading is what?
Fundamental. So if you want to join the book club, which I strongly recommend, just go to the pinned post in the Facebook group. It's the True Crime Obsessed podcast discussion group. Fill out the Google form, and that's it, and you're in.
We love it.
We love it. It's so fun.
We're in our reading era, ladies.
I know.
Hey,
I've been doing a lot of audiobooks. I'm currently listening to the book about Israel Keys. It's crazy.
Oh, my God.
Wild.
Okay.
What are we talking about today?
Oh, hello, old friend. Who is Donnie Rudd? No, fuck him. Keith Morrison Investigates. That's the old friend I'm referring to. It's been a while since we've seen you. If anyone's going to get to the bottom of who this guy is, it is Keithy Morrison.
Keithy Morrison. Oh, there's something that happens in this episode that happened on this day in that year.
Really?
Yeah. Well, I was like, wait, did they say December 17th?
It's so weird when that happens.
It's so weird when that happens.
Or when it happened like 2 years ago and like you can really remember what you were doing on that day.
Oh my God,
Isn't
totally.
that so crazy?
Yeah.
And it's a reminder of like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Everything is really small and awful. Because I was like having a normal day and this person was going through the worst thing in their life.
What was it? I'm sorry. What's it a reminder of?
That everything's the worst sometimes. Sometimes.
But sometimes things are good.
Sometimes things are great, but when it hits you, it's like, I was at a birthday party that
I
night.
know.
And someone went through the worst day of their life.
Yeah.
What an asshole I was on that day. I didn't even know it. Just living my life like an idiot.
I am your host, Donnie Rudd.
By all accounts, a noteworthy medical researcher.
His IQ would probably be on genius level.
He knew all these famous people. He was working on all these big deals. You just get sucked into his world.
But Donnie had some secrets.
It did kind of sink in that there's something that just doesn't seem right about this whole situation.
He said somebody was trying to kill him.
The cops were following him.
What did you think when you heard that he was a suspect in a murder investigation?
Didn't surprise me.
Was he a murderer or just a maverick?
It was a weird coincidence, and Mom always said when it comes to Donnie, there's no coincidence.
All of it leaves some people who've crossed his path still questioning. Who is Donnie Rudd?
I don't feel I'm talking to a murderer.
I don't know how he does it, but boy, he's good at it.
You know, if I'm being bamboozled, it's by an expert.
All right. We are starting on September 14th, 1973. It's close to midnight in the suburbs of Chicago.
Right. Cops respond to an accident on the road. It's late at night. It's a 1972 Ford Pinto. That's important, and I found out why in a minute. There's like something about the Pinto that makes what's about to happen actually impossible.
Oh my God, really?
So the 1972 Ford Pinto skidded off the road. It's a young couple, newlyweds, Donnie Rudd and his wife, Noreen.
Yeah. When the cops get there, Donnie is cradling Noreen in his arms in the car. Donnie tells the cops what happened. There was a car coming at them, like in their lane.
Going the wrong way. He
swerved to avoid the car.
When he swerved out of the way, the passenger side where his wife was sitting, the door flew open. She fell out and he stopped. And when he got out, she had struck her head on this rock. And he kind of pointed to a rock that was heavily matted with blood.
He says that he runs over to her where her head had like banged a rock.
And he's like, look, the rock's right here, cops.
Right. And then, but somehow he like dragged her back into the car to cradle her in his arms. And Noreen is unconscious and rushed to the hospital, but he's miraculously fine.
Now, this is a 1972 Ford Pinto.
Yeah.
As per the internet. In 1978, following a damning investigation by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Ford recalled all 1.5 million of its 1971 to 1976 Ford Pintos, as well as 30,000 Mercury Bobcats, which is a great name for a car.
Mercury Bobcat, that's my drag name.
So the Pinto's fuel tank was vulnerable to rupture and rear-end collisions, which is awful. It had like bad protection. But the Pinto's doors also tended to jam shut after impact, making it difficult for occupants to escape. You're telling me in a 1972 Pinto, now I'm fucking Marissa Tomei, I'm Mona Lisa Vito.
You're telling
me they were. But like really, Noreen's door flew open when the Pinto was recalled because the doors would jam shut in an accident.
Oh
like
my
this
God.
guy didn't even know the bullshit lie he was telling, but we know now.
Yes.
Like in 1973, it was in the middle of all of these accidents with the Pintos that it will eventually get recalled a few years later.
Oh my God.
But isn't that fucking crazy?
I do love you in your Columbo era. I feel like you are coming with receipts to these episodes lately.
I am. I've had it. I did watch My Cousin Vinny for the 10 millionth time the other night. Maybe I was inspired.
One thing to note here, too, is that we will find out, I don't know, like 30 years later when they actually investigate this whole situation, that the cops never believed his story.
No.
But we don't know that until 2017.
Right.
Or whatever.
So Noreen is rushed to the hospital. It is not looking good. Her injuries are really bad. She's unresponsive. When we said newlyweds, they were actual newlyweds. This happened not even 4 weeks after their wedding.
Yeah.
The couple's relationship had begun as an office romance.
Noreen Cometa was a young co-worker of Donnie Rudd. They worked together at Quaker Oats.
He was a patent attorney there.
Noreen was 19 when they met, and at the time, Donnie was in his early 30s.
They don't tell us Noreen's job. We just know that she was 19 years old. He was in his 30s. She was 19.
Yeah.
He was divorced, had a girlfriend.
I mean,
and then married Noreen.
Did he ever? Like, we are going to learn about this guy Donnie's relationship.
I hate this guy. You know who else hates him? His twin brother, Ronnie. Parents, why do you do this, Donnie and Ronnie? Like, enough.
I know. But I also got to say that Ronnie wants to make it very clear. He's here for the interview.
Oh, to talk shit about his brother?
To talk shit about his brother. It's the equivalent of like, was she a greedy slut? Like, if you know what I mean?
Yes, murder. No, greedy slut. You betcha.
Somebody sent that to me again the other day.
It's Jen Samart. She sent it to both of us.
Jen Samart.
It's her favorite thing. And she's like sitting because she's on Broadway. So all she's doing when she's not on Broadway is resting. God bless her, because she's in Death Becomes Her and she's amazing in it. And so is Megan Hilty. Whatever. It's an amazing show. But when all she's doing is watching Dateline. So I'm constantly, I love it so much. I'm constantly getting videos of her watching episodes that we covered that she hadn't seen that just like come up randomly.
Yes.
And she was like, I finally saw it in the wild, like the greedy slut
episode.
And we will. I'm going to give you a spoiler. When we come back to when we start dropping our bonus episodes this year, the very first one is a Jen Samart pick.
It is?
It is fucking insane.
Oh.
It is insane. Jen, thank you. It is crazy. It is crazy. It is crazy. We'll get into it. It is crazy.
All of that to say that Ronnie is here to basically be like, I didn't really know him that well. We weren't really that close.
But I hated him. I didn't know, but I knew him enough to hate him. And I was smarter than him. We'll get to that in a minute.
Totally.
Travel down the road and back again.
Girl, Armra Colostrum is back. First of all, I heard Gym Bros talking about this at the gym the other day.
Oh.
I was like, wait a minute.
They're talking about something good for once?
I know. But you know, I'm always looking for ways to boost my immunity and gut health, especially as we go into the winter. It's super important to me, and that's why I've been taking Armra Colostrum the whole time here. Can I tell you a little bit about what it is, just to demystify?
I would love it, because I'm all about this.
It's so easy to take. It's a concentrate. You take 4 scoops of it. You can put it in whatever liquid you want. Make it in a smoothie. Put it in water.
Put it in your morning coffee, and then you're done.
Literally. I love it. I know right away, first thing in the morning, I'm doing something great for myself. I gotta stay healthy, girl. I cannot get sick this year.
No, we're not doing that anymore. It's 2025. We're not doing it. So it's good for your immunity, right?
Yes.
It's fortifying your gut health.
Yes.
It's igniting your metabolism. These are all great things. Armra Colostrum has also been shown to reactivate hair follicle stem cells.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, these gym bros, they weren't just talking about the metabolism and the gut health. They were talking about their skin. This Jim Bro was taking it for his skin because it's all about the skin radiance.
And we can use skin radiance all year round, but especially if we're talking about the winter, it's drier. Your skin, like everyone's skin gets a little dull in the winter.
And the point is, this isn't just for the Gym Bros, is what I'm saying. Like, I'm not a Gym Bro. I take it because it serves all of us.
Yeah.
Armor Colostrum literally has thousands of benefits, girl. There's no reason not to take it.
Yeah, I can't think of one.
No. So, fam, we've worked out a special offer for our audience. Receive 15% off your first order.
Go to tryarmra.com/TCO or enter TCO to get 15% off your first order.
That's TRYARMRA.com/TCO.
I like the way that little rhythm is. Very sing-songy.
Staccato.
Yeah. Everyone is shocked that he's dating Noreen, and even more surprised that after 2 weeks of dating, they get married. Like, he meets her, 2 weeks later, they're married.
Yes.
So Noreen is rushed to the hospital, and unfortunately, she was pronounced dead when she got there. They were married for 29 days. She's 19 years old. It's tragic.
She is the one, like, of all the people in the story, she's like the most forgotten, like, because her story is so quick, and it's like...
And also on purpose, that's by design.
Yes.
Donnie doesn't want anyone to talk about Noreen.
Yes.
I'm fucking talking about her, and so is Keith Morrison.
Yeah. Can I just say one more thing?
Yeah.
When we get there, I think Diane's got some blood on her hands for this one. I know. Hey, you guys haven't met Diane yet, so don't worry. We'll get there when
There's
we get
a lot
there.
here.
Yeah.
So this is not the last tragedy Donnie would see. Tragedy follows this guy. And Keith says,
You gotta stop being surprised when Keith disappoints you a little bit.
This really shocked me, though.
Yeah.
Because he said,
Donnie buried his young bride in her wedding dress. Her obituary and her headstone were two of the only times she used her new married name, Noreen Rudd.
two of the few times she used her married name.
I know.
And I know why he's saying that, to say that they were just married and she was so young, 19 years old. Like, it is so tragic. But I was like, oh my God, that's so ghoulish to think about. Like, she used her married name on like these really sad things.
Yeah, for this piece of shit guy that we're going to find out.
Thanks for the reminder, Keith.
I know.
God, we're just getting started.
So we got the Donnie Rudd backstory. He was born in a small Texas town. Born in a small Texas town in 1942. Brother Donnie tells...
God.
I know.
Donnie's older than Ronnie by 4.5 minutes. Do all twins give a shit about who's older by how many minutes?
Do you think Tegan and Sarah care?
Probably. Probably not, actually. They're like, they were born at the exact same time.
Yeah, that poor mother. But they were small.
They were
small.
What I mean?
They
still, you know.
They were born at the exact same. It was a photo finish.
They were, I mean, they're like queer twins who are super insanely musically talented.
Yeah.
They were definitely the twins who were medical miracles. They were born at the same time. And that's the thing no one talks about. Like, no one knows that. It's like, they don't want back.
Totally.
They also had this older brother.
Jillian was out doing karaoke real late last night. We were which is sometimes like
I went to 3 parties yesterday.
Really?
Yeah.
3?
We just kept going. Mike said to me, he was like, do you have a full day tomorrow? And I went, yep. He goes, you want to go downtown and do karaoke? Yep.
There's only one answer to that question.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, of course.
My old haunts? Of course.
Of course.
Gosh.
Now, you're nailing it.
Said yes.
And I don't even know where we are. Oh, we learned both of Donnie and Ronnie's parents were teachers. The dad coached all of the school sports.
Well, school was a big part of their lives because the parents were teachers. Mom taught 3rd and 4th grade. Dad taught 5th through 8th. They coached the sport. So, like, school was the whole thing.
Can I ask you a question? How does one person know all the rules to all the sports? You're going to coach tennis, soccer, football, basketball. How do you know all those rules?
I don't think our 8th graders playing football.
Yeah.
8th graders.
Yeah, we had a football team in my middle school. I wasn't on it. I was in the drama club.
Right. Where you belong.
I was doing Bye Bye Birdie with Johnny Fassan and Christian Polino.
Obviously.
Crushes on both of them.
Of course.
You know
Who was Conrad? Which one?
Conrad was then in Putney, and he actually really did a great job.
Conrad's a pretty minor role, all things considered.
All things considered, but also at one point, that character comes out in drag at one point. And that means that this, like, 8th grader had to go get in drag and, like, come out, like, in a drag. Like, that's kind of a...
That's theater, baby. Showbiz, kid.
But, like, 19, whatever year that was, like, the early 90s, you know what I mean? Kind of a big deal. I was proud of him for doing it.
You know?
Okay. Okay, you're not giving him any room.
No, it's like, that's the gig. You want the gig or not?
It's true. And he did want the gig.
So the twins are very competitive.
Oh, Donnie and I were very competitive academically. And I think that was a plus, not a minus, because we played off of each other in the competition. We both had our IQ tested a number of times. I was in the high 150s. He was in the high 140s.
They had their IQ tested quite often.
I know.
Ronnie was in the high 150s. Donnie, the subject of the documentary, in the high 140s. Competition is still alive and well, I see. I looked it up. They both fall in the highly gifted category for whatever that's worth. It's pretty meaningless
Apparently
to me.
a good score is 85 to 115. Well, can I tell you, I looked up an IQ test. I tried to take, I couldn't get past the first question. I was like, what are you asking? I couldn't understand the question.
Well, I think those are such bullshit.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you take it, and for what?
Right.
Everyone, the answer is you want to tell people what your IQ is to be an insufferable asshole at the cocktail party. That's why you take it. Who takes it and keeps that?
Because it's not getting you in anywhere. Yeah.
It doesn't matter. And let me tell you, you can have the highest IQ in the world and still be a fucking idiot.
But that's what usually happens, I feel like.
I mean, yes, because there's like no common sense. It's like, oh, you can solve a question. Who cares?
Right? Not you.
What have you done for me lately? Nothing.
But the twins were super close until they graduated high school because now there are girls involved.
Right. They go their separate ways. They hate each other anyway. Who cares? Right? Like, they're happy to be rid of each other.
Yeah.
I bet Ronnie is like an only child at college. You know what I mean? He
1,000,000%.
Whatever.
It made me a little sad because it's kind of like, I mean, I'm so close with most of my siblings.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to just stop speaking to your siblings when you get married.
I'd stop speaking to this guy.
That's true.
I'm not speaking to him, and I'm not even related to him. And we're not on speaking terms.
You make all the good calls when it comes to these things.
I'm not talking to him right now. Right. So whatever. Donnie and his family settle in Chicago in a picturesque suburb called Hoffman Estates.
But we got to talk about his wife, Luann.
But here's what happened, though. He has 4 kids. So he's married, right?
To Luann.
Not De Lesseps.
I was just going to say.
Not the Countess, who's not a Countess anymore, but she still goes by the
I heard
Countess.
2 male voices downstairs. One of them was Luann's. It's
Her
like
monster shoes.
It's my favorite thing. I texted to Natalie every day.
It's the best. How could you do this to me? Question mark. Please don't let it be about Tom. It's about Tom. That's like the most unbelievable. That whole scene of Bethany, and then Bethany making it about herself having a panic attack about how she had to tell Luann that her skeezy boyfriend, who he's kissing people all over town. And Bethany makes it about her having a panic attack. Please don't let it be about Tom. It's about Tom. Always about Tom.
How could you do this to me? Question mark.
So here's the thing. Donnie's married to Luann. 4 kids. Teresa's the second youngest. She's here with us today. Donnie's on the school board, which is where he meets Diane, who's also married, to which I say, uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
She and her husband, John, also had 4 kids. Their homes were only a couple of miles apart, so it made sense the families became friends.
My mom was the president of the District 54 school board at that time, and Donnie was elected as a school board member. And through that, we became friends.
It started with my mom and Donnie, and then it eventually went where it was the whole family.
The families became friends. They were very, very tight. They're going on vacation together. Lori Hart is Diane's daughter. Another fucking great name.
Yeah.
She's like Jem, the rock star.
I gotta say, most of the kids in this episode have pretty good names.
Cindy Hart, the Harts. Hart is a great last name to have.
1,000,000%.
And all of the daughters are here, and they're great.
Yes.
The families are like hanging out multiple times a week. Everyone's babysitting each other. They're going on vacations together.
Yes.
They're like very intertwined.
Now, just remember, the couples are Donnie and Luann and John and Diane.
Now, Donnie and Diane, who are not married right now. Donnie and the wife of the other family, Diane.
Yes.
They were like the super powerful duo. They were like working together, making waves with the school board.
Yes.
They were also traveling out of town.
Exactly.
A lot. Eventually, Diane leaves her family to be with Donnie.
Yes. Just to be really clear, there's 2 families, and the husband from one and the wife from the other left their families to be together.
I know someone who did this.
Really?
He left his wife for her maid of honor. The kids called her Aunt Redacted, and now he's married to her.
Whoa. How long have they been married?
A long time. He's also a complete piece of shit. Also, the wife he left, complete piece of shit. They're horrible, horrible people. But to do that to the kids, I think is so...
It's horrible.
They called her Aunt blank.
Yeah.
And now she's like married to their father. She was the maid of honor at the wedding. I mean, couldn't have been closer. So I was shocked by this, but I was like, that shit happens.
Because the thing is that like the shocks don't end here. So Donnie leaves Luann, Diane leaves John.
By the time the divorce papers were signed, it was not Donnie and Diane, but John and Luann who announced they were getting married. Donnie and John simply swapped homes and partners. The kids called it the switcheroo.
They get get together.
The kids call it the old switcheroo.
No, when I was having my deja vu today, I was hearing you talk about the switcheroo. That's when I was like, we've already recorded this.
Switcheroo.
The old switcheroo.
Now, but especially now, Diane left her Southern Baptist religion. She had to choose between God and Donnie, and she chose him. Who is this guy? Like, this is a documentary that is very appropriately named. Who is he? I feel like the dude in Lebowski, what the fuck is with this guy? Who is he?
I know. The thing is, whenever we do documentaries about these men that get all these women, that they're always
the Black Widower guy.
Derpiest herbs. Exactly right. Like, they're not particularly attractive or whatever, but for whatever reason, like this guy Donnie's gonna get away with everything. He's like nothing.
He has like 5 or 6 wives.
I know.
So, but the thing is that's like super unhealthy and weird and toxic is that the kids are going back and forth between the houses and the families. Because remember, every family had 4 kids and they were all kind of the same age. So now they were intertwined already, and now they're like,
imagine you're a couple and you're a couple and you have 4 kids and your best friend is another couple with 4 kids. And like, that's great. Then all of a sudden there's like a literal wife swap, as they call it. And now the kids are going back and forth between the houses. And it's like, we never really get a sense of if the kids like each other or not. You know, like the 2 sets of siblings, like, do they get along? We don't really know.
But it's a very, very, very shitty thing to do to the 8 children in the scenario who
100%.
chose none of this.
Yes.
Okay, so Donnie is about to marry Diane. He ripped everyone's lives apart, turned their worlds upside down, and then out of the clear blue sky, he marries Noreen, who just died tragically in this car accident.
And
she's 19 years old, married for 3 weeks.
That's exactly right. So he's with Diane, left his family to be with Diane. Diane left her family to be with him. They're like together.
Lives ruined, exploded, turned upside down.
Yeah. And so rather than marrying her, he meets Noreen at work. They get married for 3 weeks and Noreen dies mysteriously.
And then Donnie wants to come home and Diane forgives him. One of the daughters say he pulled out of the driveway and went and married Noreen. It was like that, like instant.
3 weeks later, Noreen is dead and he's back with Diane like nothing ever happened.
Ladies, we gotta do better, ladies.
But
ladies,
like this was a calculated plan and Diane was in on it. I just will not hear. I will not hear anything different.
Wait, why? You think she
It was a total insurance scam. Diane knew about it and she was completely in on it.
No.
Yeah, that's what I think. And we'll get more evidence of that as we get to the end. Diane definitely knew.
She knew a lot.
Yeah.
Travel down the road and back again.
Girl, Quip is back. First of all, you're going to make the sound. Okay, thank you. So, girl, I've been using the new Quip 360 oscillating toothbrush for like a month now. I'm obsessed. Daisy has one, by the way. We actually have to pull it out of her mouth.
Well, it revolves around you, hence the name.
You know I love a thing that revolves around me, girl.
I know I have to brush my teeth. I do it at least twice a day. Do I enjoy it? I used to not. It was really annoying. I would do it like much earlier in the night because if I fall asleep on the couch, you know I don't want to do it later.
Totally.
But the Quip 360 has kind of changed the game here.
And let me tell you, my favorite thing about going to the dentist is when they really clean in between the teeth and it gets all clean in there. This is what the 360 oscillating toothbrush does. It is proven to remove up to 11 times more plaque between teeth compared to a manual toothbrush and provide up to 2 times more whitening on day 1, girl.
And now that sounds like it must sound like there's landscapers in your bathroom, right? No, it has a super simple design. It's really cute. It comes in multiple colors. It's really quiet, so you're getting like a really great clean. You're not waking anyone up, and you're not annoying your own self.
Yeah, and let me tell you this, girl. When you purchase at getquip.com, you're getting a free lifetime warranty.
Get out of here.
I'm telling you, I'm going to stay right here, girl.
Really?
Yeah.
And now with Quip Perks, Quip puts their money where your mouth is. How cute.
Well done, Quip.
So when you subscribe to AutoShip, you'll be enrolled in Quip Perks to earn credit back over time.
We're obsessed, fam. Just for listeners of True Crime Obsessed, you can get 20% off site-wide and a free travel case and countertop stand at getquip.com/TCO.
Free your mouth today and save 20% site-wide plus a free travel case and countertop stand at getquip.com/TCO.
They're giving it all away. It's getquip, QUIP for Patrick.com/TCO. Revolves around me.
I mean,
you know what I mean?
Sold. So Donnie and Diane get married, and this is tragic, but we're told that as a way to cope, the family kind of acts like Noreen never existed.
Right.
Like it was the month, they call it the month of Noreen, and then they never speak of her again, like she was a blip on a screen, not an actual human being who died in a tragic car accident.
And like at the prime of her youth, she was 19 years old.
And he's in his 30s.
And like everyone is just kind of acting that way, but the 2 oldest of Diane's kids, Lori and Cindy, they're like, we knew something was not right.
And they're like, why isn't anyone talking about Noreen? Because it's still a tragedy. Like, it's weird. It doesn't sit right with them. They want to know the truth about it. And one night, Lori, she's 16, she asks Donnie about Noreen. And Donnie's like, Are you ready for this shit?
To her surprise, she said Donnie told her it had been no accident. It had been an assassination attempt, not targeting Noreen, but Donnie.
He said that somebody had run him off the road and stopped and got out of the car and looked and then got in the car and drove away. I said, well, who would do that?
It wasn't an accident. It was an assassination attempt on my life. And I'm like,
I know.
Can we stop
Do you rehearse
disparaging?
these lines?
No, I didn't even write that down. No. But you know how he told it in some, like, he had to make Noreen's death about himself and erase her even more. And he's so important that there's an assassination attempt on his life.
Yeah, and then he has like this elaborate backstory. He's working with some U.S. attorney who's investigating high-profile politicians and businessmen.
It's always my enemies, remember?
Yes,
and whatever.
yes.
Tinder's my enemies. It's like, enough.
Right. He just makes up this backstory and like, but we learn too that like, that's just the beginning of his lies. He's now telling people that he was in Vietnam, he was in the CIA, he was jumping out of helicopters.
Can I tell you something?
Yeah.
Someone in my extended family is in the CIA.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't really talk about it because I don't know shit.
Right.
I don't know anything.
Yes.
We barely see him, which sucks because him and his family are fucking awesome.
Yeah.
But I know that like years and years ago, they lived not in this country. And I'm not going to say where it was, but all I know is that like what they were allowed to tell us about like the compound that he lived with all the other CIA agents and their families and what it was like to like have to raise a kid in this very like sort of sheltered community because that's where it was safe. But like all the families like had to hang out and get along because they like couldn't leave where they were.
I mean, it's like when like I'm sorry, sweet Bobby, but like when your boyfriend is telling you that he's in witness protection, he's not in witness protection.
Not.
You know?
And like that's all I know.
Yeah, right, exactly.
But like he also knew all these famous people and he's like super interesting and like everyone else's dad had like a boring job, but not him. He just has stories for days and tragedy follows him everywhere.
And he's also like just like trying to be the cool new stepdad, giving two of the kids monkeys for Christmas. And one of the daughters is like, imagine monkeys as pets. Who doesn't think monkeys are the cutest thing in the world, right?
Also, my muscle memory kept spelling it like monkeys, E-E, like the band. Imagine just like Mickey Dolenz and Davy Jones under your Christmas tree in the morning.
Like in a cage.
A dream.
Totally.
No, not in a cage.
Okay.
But like pets as gifts, always a bad idea. I don't care if it's a goldfish. Please don't do that to people.
No, because the kids are talking about like the chaos of having the monkeys in the house. And this one girl's like, as though like life wasn't fucking chaotic enough.
Right? But that's how Donnie liked it.
Exactly.
So 1974, Donnie is elected president of the school board and then immediately steps down due to a, quote, an illness that we don't know what the illness is and we don't know anything about it, but he can't handle the stress of being on the school board.
And then Diane, completely abdicating her role as a mother, comes up with a quote, interesting living arrangement. This is insane.
She, I think, had it in her head that she could live with Donnie and take care of us kids, and that she had a solution, which was she bought 2 townhomes right together.
We had the 2 houses next door to us, the kids' house and the adult house.
This is insane. She and Donnie buy 2 townhomes right next to each other. Where does the money come from? We don't know.
And that's the other thing that we kind of glossed over. There's like suddenly a lot of money around after the marriage and the girls are like, what?
Well, you know where the money came from? Fucking insurance. Noreen's insurance money. Like they buy 2 townhouses right next to each other, one for her and Donnie, one for the kids. They put the kids in a house by themselves.
Because the kids had to be away from Donnie's personal belongings.
Right.
He didn't want them touching anything. So the solution was to just like put them in a separate house, but right next door so she could still be a mother. And I'm like, Diane.
But I'm like, the kids are saying now, like, of course, like in the beginning, they liked it because they knew when like the parents went to bed and when they could start the party. But like, kids need structure. They need their parents telling them to go to fucking bed. Like, they need to know that their parents give a shit about them.
And what don't you want them to see?
Exactly.
What are in his belongings?
Yeah.
So of course the kids go over and look through everything.
Of course.
They're told, you need to live in a separate house because 1, we don't really care about you. And 2, you can't go through Donnie's precious things. So they find a pipe collection, a stuffed armadillo, cowboy boots, lots of guns. 1 gun that looks like a cane. It was like disguised as a cane. One of the daughters is like, there was a big show of I'm a Texan. And I'm like, say no more. I know exactly what that means. So Donnie was a practicing lawyer.
Yes.
Diane was going to law school. Now we're in the 80s.
Yeah.
And Donnie is at the forefront of condominium law and he goes by Mr. Condo.
I was like, did condos become invented in the 80s? It's like, it does feel like a very 80s thing to me.
Yeah.
Like, let's go to the condo for the weekend.
The condo board, yeah. But he's It's Mr. Kondo. He had the license plate, the vanity plate. Remember that? He had this local TV show. He's very in your face, making a name for himself as Mr. Kondo.
It's like, can you imagine watching a TV about like Mr. Kondo was the name of his TV show?
Like, who cares?
About condo law. But then again, like the number one show on NPR for like the 5 decades was Car Talk, which was just like these two guys from Boston literally talking about fixing cars.
You know why? People were listening to it to go to sleep, I bet.
Probably. But it was
My
the
eyes are getting heavy just thinking about it.
I know. The number one. And they were like kind of quirky and funny and they would like make jokes and stuff. But like Car Talk on NPR, like that was the number one show on NPR.
Look.
Bigger than This American Life.
Unbelievable.
I know.
Car Talk. Wow. Anyway, the kids aren't stupid. They're like, something's up with this guy. It's really weird, and his stories are crazy. They don't make any sense. So the girls, they get older, and they're like hating everything about this. They go to Luann, the wife he left for their mother.
Yes.
Luann.
She confirmed their suspicions. Donnie had lied.
And I'd say, Donnie, he was in the CIA. And Luann would go, he was never in the CIA. I married him right out of school.
Luann would just look at us and say, he was never in the war. I would have known that.
He's full of shit. He's lying about all of it. And Diane didn't care.
Yeah. And like, this is going to be just the beginning of Diane not caring at all about how horrible this man treats her for the rest of her life.
Not just her, but her kids.
Yes.
And like when the kids say, Mom, something's wrong, and she does it, she's like, well, this is just my life. Like, these are the choices I'm making. That will always, always, always cause a rift. Always. And that's what happened here because it became the kids versus Donnie.
Right. And like, we're hearing all these childish ways in which he would like treat the kids. They leave the window open. He would glue it shut.
Lots of glue stuff.
Yeah. Also, like, he took a sledgehammer to one of the kids' TVs when she didn't move it to the place he wanted her to.
Because when he'd get mad, he'd put glue in your pockets. Like, grow up. But Keith is like, did you ever take revenge?
Get any retribution?
And the girls are like, Keith, there's nothing we do better than revenge. And they'd like clean the toilet with his toothbrush.
Oh, it's so gross.
They'd hide his stuff. But the thing is, then he'd start to get violent, which is, gluing things shut, putting glue in your pockets, that's childish, but it is abusive.
Yes.
And the violence is also abusive because he'd like smash the TV with a sledgehammer. Like, he's escalating.
Yes.
And it's scary.
And showing that he's scary.
And Keith is like, we'd love to tell you what Donnie said about this, but he declined an interview. And I'm like, oh my God, he's alive.
I had the same thing. I love it finding out that these pieces of shit are still alive, but not sitting down. You're going to sit down with Keith, the guy who said to somebody once, I don't give a sweet flying fuck.
No.
I'm not sitting down with Keith for an interview.
I would love it. Keith.
I know.
DMs are open.
I know.
I've been
girl.
waiting.
I know.
I've been waiting. Like, what did I do? What is it?
How amazing would it be to get Keith for an interview? We got to do it. Remember,
I would die.
TCO fan, maybe you don't remember this, but there was a time that Keith duetted us on Instagram.
Yeah.
From
not
the
a
Dayline
stitch,
account.
a duet. Yeah.
It was very funny.
Keith.
I know.
I have a lot of questions.
Mm-hmm.
But like, it's such a shitty way to live as the daughters because like your mom doesn't believe you, or if she believes you, she just doesn't care.
Yeah.
And like, she's not saying, hi, can you not smash the TV with a sledgehammer? Can you not be an immature, abusive asshole to my kids?
Exactly.
And like, now there's a rift.
And also go live next door because I don't want to see you because my husband doesn't want to see you.
It's so shitty.
It's very shitty.
So, but the girls are doing this, like they want to save themselves, but they want to save their mother. Like they can see that she has these blinders on. So they go searching, they do more digging, and they find the briefcase.
Yes.
And in this briefcase are photos of Noreen, who they'd never seen before.
Right. Remember, like they'd only known of her for 3 weeks before she died.
Right. And like lots of papers and files. And they're like, well, he's a lawyer, so I guess that tracks. But like, why are these hidden? And why are all these papers with Noreen's stuff?
But
like,
they also see that there had been an inquest into her death. Like they didn't, like they're seeing that the cops didn't just take his story at face value.
Yeah. And so it was eventually ruled an accident, but they don't like this at all. And I don't either.
Yes.
So they're like, why is this hidden? Like, is this what they didn't want us to find so much that they put us in a separate house?
I mean, kind of, yes.
Travel down the road and back again.
Girl, Pretty Litter is back. Give us a macaroni update.
Macaroni is doing great. Macaroni is healthy, and we know that thanks to Pretty Litter.
Yes, because here's the thing. Pretty Litter is that kitty litter that not only doesn't make your house stink, it has the health indicator. So when the cat uses the box, if the box turns a color, you know you got to take the cat to the vet right away.
Yeah, like UTIs or kidney issues. Like, here's the thing. My dog Fiona recently had a UTI issue, and we didn't know that until we took her to the vet for something else.
Yes.
So if she were a cat...
Right, you would have known right away. Totally. And look, Pretty Litter is low dust. It is lightweight. It is non-clumping.
Yeah, because the thing is, look, cat people, I love you. I really do. However, you think we can't tell that you have a cat the minute we walk in the door?
You absolutely can.
Unless you have Pretty Litter,
Yeah.
we can tell because there's dust all over the floor or it stinks.
And also, having a cat, the worst thing about it was going to the grocery store and having to carry that huge box of kitty litter all the way home. Pretty Litter sends it right to your door. You never have to do that again.
Yeah, it's just off your plate. You don't have to think about it. It just shows up.
So, fam, indoor cats and indoor humans agree. Pretty Litter helps my house smell fresh and clean.
Go to prettylitter.com/TCO to save 20% on your first order and get a free cat toy.
I love the free cat toy. That's prettylitter.com/TCO to save 20% on your first order and get a free cat toy.
prettylitter.com/TCO.
Terms and conditions apply. See site for details.
Get that free cat toy.
I want a free cat toy.
Are they all mice? No.
Maybe. We don't know.
Are they all rodents?
We don't know.
I'm not saying that as a bad thing. I think they're very cute.
Totally. Girl, Z-Biotics pre-alcohol probiotic is back, and I gotta tell you, it is Steve Tipton's favorite thing. We had a happy hour the other night. He made every person present take the pre-alcohol.
Here, it's so easy because it's not like, we all have stuff to do tomorrow.
Yeah, well, exactly.
Honestly. So, you just take this an hour or two before you have your first drink, but you still drink smartly.
Exactly.
So, you're still eating, you're still also hydrating.
Yes.
But when you have this first as your first drink of the night, I have to tell you, because I have used this, especially during the holiday season that just ended, you really do wake up the next day being like, oh, I don't have to cancel anything tomorrow.
No.
So their probiotic was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking.
Somebody was like, this is the problem we need to solve, and Z-Biotics went out and did it.
Yeah, so here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut.
Yes. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day.
So pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down.
Right. This is a proactive solution that wards off feeling miserable the next day instead of a reactive approach like drinking electrolytes or eating greasy food.
I know, and we loved that part, but it's over now.
You can still have that part, though.
I'm having the greasy food.
Totally. No, I'm telling you, we all drank it the other night at our happy hour, and all of us woke up having good mornings the next morning.
Oh, yeah.
So, fam, go to zbiotics.com/TCO to learn more and get 15% off your first order when you use TCO at checkout.
Z-Biotics is backed with 100% money-back guarantee, so if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked.
Remember to head to zbiotics.com/TCO and use code TCO at checkout for 15% off.
Thank you, Z-Biotics, for sponsoring this episode and our good times.
And great mornings.
You know what?
You know what I mean?
So it's 1981. All of the kids have turned 18 and moved out, and it's just 17-year-old Glory who's the only one left in the house.
Yeah.
Now, she is now in the same house. The kids' house is no longer, everyone's under one roof.
This story is insane.
Glory was home alone. She's 17 years old. The door was not locked. They never locked the door, whatever. We don't have time. Suddenly, Glory hears footsteps upstairs, and she's like, I thought I was home alone. Who else is home?
And she came up the stairs, and there was a woman in a fur coat walking around.
And she kind of looked at me and was like, who are you, or what are you doing here? Are you the cleaning lady? And is this Donnie's house? I was like, well, I'm Donnie's stepdaughter. And she was like, well, I'm Donnie's fiance. And it didn't take long for me to be like, oh, busted, I got him.
Now, the girls are thrilled because they're like, this is undeniable. Our mom can't put up with this for sure, right? They think it's ridiculous and crazy, but they see it as a way to get rid of Donnie.
Yes.
So they're kind of like, this is the best thing that could have happened.
Yes.
This real piece of work in the big fur coat.
But Donnie, of course, has an explanation. He's saying this woman is a client, that
she's crazy. He calls her a crazy woman.
Yeah, and she's trying to get me in trouble by saying that we are together. She's trying to ruin my marriage.
But what he says is, actually, being in this house is violating the restraining order I have on her. And I'm like, you don't tell your wife, you don't tell people you have a restraining order on someone. You don't warn them and say, look, this is what's going on. If you see this woman, don't you should be telling your family. I feel like if you have a restraining order on someone, the person you're married to would know about it.
Well, and that's how you know it's a story he came up with in the moment to get out of being in trouble. It's just a lie. And the daughters do not buy it, so they start following him.
They tail him. They tell him, they tell the fiance.
Right, exactly. And they're watching everywhere he goes.
And they're looking for the court records because they're like, okay, if there's a restraining order, this is all documented. documented, right?
Yeah.
Wrong. There's no proof of any of this, no paper trail, nothing.
Yes. And shockingly, Diane, the mom, agrees to leave him.
This is it. This is the last straw for her. She finally comes around. She sees what her daughters are seeing. She finally leaves Donnie. So she and Glory move out, get their own place. This is 1981.
Yeah. He, of course, starts leaving love notes for Diane all over the place. That's all it takes.
Yeah, 6 weeks later.
She moves back in with him. And I'm like, what about the house you just bought?
I know.
Like, you just bought. You're not
Did she
even
buy the house or was she renting it?
I have that she bought it.
Holy shit.
I know.
So, yeah, apologizing, love bombing, hoovering, the whole thing. She goes back with him. But Diane is not in a good place because now, like, her eyes are open to what's going on. So, like, the relationship is awful. She's miserable. She finds out about yet another woman that he's cheating on her with, and she takes 14 sleeping pills. Like, Diane is not well, and she, like, now that her daughter sort of shed light on everything, she's still she's still going back to the situation.
It makes me so sad for the kids because she's taking the sleeping pills and then, like, hanging out with her daughter, hoping that her daughter's going to notice that something is wrong. Thank God her daughter does.
I know. And these kids have been, like, abused in a bad situation for, like, most of their lives.
Yes,
it's really shitty.
Well, and Diana's saying, like, at least Diana's starting to feel like I blew up our lives for nothing, you know?
Right. So this, like, goes on and on and on, and now we're in the 90s.
Yes. And so it takes, like, a kind of an insane left turn. It's April 4th, 1991. We learn that a 59-year-old woman was found murdered in a nearby Chicago suburb. Her name is Loretta Botke. She was discovered by her husband on the kitchen floor. She'd been shot in the head 4 times at close range, including having been shot in the face.
Now, the cops go to Donnie right away because he knew her. And I'm like, oh, shit. So here's what happened. Loretta was an interior designer. She was having a conflict with one of her partners. This happens all the time, right?
Yeah.
She hires Donnie as her lawyer in this dispute. The family knew all about her because Donnie would not stop talking about Loretta. He was talking about her at dinner. Like, she was just a major topic of conversation.
And they start to assume that she's, like, another woman that he's, like, having an affair with.
So Donnie tells Loretta.
Donnie told Loretta that he'd filed a lawsuit against the former business partner and that Loretta had won something like $800,000 in the suit. And Loretta was overjoyed, but never saw the money. And kind of the months went on.
You won $800,000.
$800,000 in this dispute with her business partner or whatever.
That's also not how it works.
Right,
like, Loretta has to be a party to this. Like,
exactly.
A lawyer can't just be like, I did this for you on your behalf, and by the way, here's an $800,000 payout. Like, it's
Even
not
though,
what happens.
Weirdly, life insurance seems to work that way.
It's like, whatever.
You know what I mean?
So Loretta is happy, but she'd be a lot happier if she actually saw a penny of that $800,000.
Exactly.
So months and months go by, and Donnie uses what we learn is his typical line, which he says a lot, which is, I can't give you the money because I have cancer.
Right.
We're back to faking cancer. We just finished Anatomy of Lies.
Oh, God, I know. And, like, after months and months and months of this, she tells him that she's going to file a complaint against him. And he's like, whoa.
Let's not get crazy, Loretta. You're being emotional again. You're an idiot woman. Pipe down, okay? Let's not get hysterical.
Pipe down, and I'm going to come and meet with you tomorrow before you file. Just let's have a face-to-face meeting.
And I'll give you the money.
Yeah.
Loretta, we don't have to file any complaints. You're being insane.
Jumping up the deep end.
Okay, it's $800,000 that I haven't paid you.
Exactly.
It's nothing. Just relax. I'll come tomorrow. Oh, I didn't know you wanted it. You wanted it. Loretta, we don't have to go like crazy. You're at 100, Loretta. Calm down. So
wait, what else about Loretta?
Loretta's fucking awesome. Because Loretta is like, bitch.
Yeah.
Fucking.
I know.
Pay me.
And honestly, like,
fuck you, pay me, literally.
Because you know that she's paid him for his like lawyer fees or whatever.
Right, but yet not for the hourly time it took for him to file that lawsuit on her behalf. Like none of this happened.
Totally.
But she, of course, is on him. She's like, I want that money.
Yeah.
That doesn't exist, by the way, because there was no lawsuit. There was nothing. So the next day, the money didn't come. He promised to wire it. The money isn't there. Instead, what happens is that Loretta is murdered.
Yes.
So obviously, this is all connected.
Yes.
The cops talk to the neighbors. The neighbors have a ton of information.
Yeah.
And they hear gunshots. They also saw a man with a briefcase leave at 3:30 right after the gunshots. And.
They also said they saw a car leave around 3:30 p.m. after the suspected gunshots.
And they also reported specifically that they'd seen a car at the apartment with the vanity plates of Mr. Kondo on it.
The vanity plates will always come and bite you.
I mean,
they saw the car with that stupid Mr. Kondo vanity plate.
Like, he murdered her in the middle of the day.
Yeah.
Like, this man thinks he can get, like,
Stay stupid, everyone.
Stay stupid.
With the vanity plates.
I know. But, like, he just thinks he can get away with it.
Because he's gotten away with everything his whole life. This is the 90s now.
Guess what? He's going to get away with it. You know what I mean?
Well, I have an update.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
So That's why the cops are at Donnie's place ASAP, because everyone saw, I heard gunshots. I saw Mr. Kondo leave and he drove away in the Mr. Kondo car. I wonder who could have done this, right?
Yes. And he admits he was there. He's like, I was there, but I had nothing to do with the murder. He says he left at 3 p.m., which would have been 20 minutes before the gunshots and 30 minutes earlier than other neighbors say they saw his car leaving the driveway. So I'm like, you left, and within like that 20-minute window, somebody stole your car, drove back there, and killed her.
He's like, you're exactly right. Now you're catching on. Right. So now remember, Donnie's a lawyer, okay?
Yeah.
So the cops are at his house. The cops stupidly ask Donnie about all the guns he has.
Yeah.
And they're like, and Donnie says, you know what? Actions speak louder than words. I'm going to go get all these guns. Let me go upstairs. Hold tight.
This is so genius on Donnie's part. This is like, and the cops are so fucking stupid because just to be clear, they are at his house within an hour of finding Loretta's body.
Right.
So if Donnie did this, he would still have gunshot residue on his hands.
So he goes upstairs, gets all his guns.
He has like 30 guns.
But he touched every single one.
He touched every single one. And then the police said, do you want to take a gunpowder residue test? And he was like, what? How can you ask me that after I just handled all these guns?
Donnie's like, how dare you ask me that? I touched all these guns. I can't do that now.
Of course I have gunpowder residue on my hands. I just touched 30 guns.
Saul Goodman would be so proud.
I mean, it's like these cops are so fucking stupid.
Right. And also they never located the murder weapon.
Right.
So he has 30 guns except the one used to murder Loretta.
And, but also, right, they say they compare the bullets found at the crime scene. They don't match any of the guns that Donnie has.
So what happens is, like, Donnie never actually won the $800,000.
Right.
And this was not even close to the first time he'd do something like this. So he'd pretend he'd win a big case and then never pay the money and then, like, pay them out of pocket.
Yes.
Basically to, like, shut them up once they try to do this complaint. But it's like, to what end? Don't you see this only causes drama for you, Donnie?
The only thing that makes sense here, one of his stepdaughters says he would take on, he wanted to be known as like the big man on campus. He wanted to be the guy that took on these like $1 million lawsuits. So he would like pretend to take them on, and he would either like not file the lawsuit and just like say that he took the case. And then if he actually did take the case and lost it, he would tell everybody that he won.
Fake cancer for a few months.
Exactly.
And like,
he just wants people to think that he's the guy taking the big cases. That's literally what all this comes down to.
There are so many complaints about him. It makes zero sense. It's so much work for him. Just like go to school and win the cases. Like,
yeah.
Or you can do that.
Yeah.
So but what happened is he'd done this so many times. He has so many complaints against him that he's about to lose his license. And Loretta's complaint was going to get him disbarred.
Right. Because the judge was like, one more complaint against you and you're losing your license. And that was what Loretta's complaint was going to be.
So the police found a check from Donnie to Loretta at the scene of the murder, proving that he was doing the same shit he always did, being like, I don't actually have the $800,000, but how's like 10 grand? Like from his own money.
Yes.
So now he's the prime suspect in Loretta's murder, and they need evidence to make an arrest. So now the cops are tailing Donnie. They're trying to figure out how to get him.
So they investigated.
They followed him. The police, I remember the police following him. I don't think that they were trying to hide that they were out there. I think they were actually trying to make him feel uncomfortable.
They're like not even trying to hide it. This is like my favorite, where they're just trying to intimidate him by like letting him know that they're following him around.
They're like waving in the morning.
Totally.
Hi. So it's November 1991. Both Donnie and his wife Diane are subpoenaed, and they have to appear before a grand jury.
Yeah.
Now they're both lawyers. Diane had just finished law school.
Oh, by the way, when they tell us that Diane finished law school, they show us the saddest picture of her and Donnie, like with her and her like cap and gown on their back porch. She looks miserable.
I know.
He looks miserable.
Well, I think this might, to your point, a little bit part of the plan.
Yes.
Because they're working as a couple on Donnie's defense now. And the whole like spousal privilege thing. So Diane is Donnie's best defense because Donnie like called her when he got home from Loretta's. There are phone records. They made a timeline together.
Yes.
And now they're like working on his defense. Now Diane, apparently, because her eyes are open a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Diane, as a lawyer, is looking for reasonable doubt because like she knows he did this. And it works, though.
Yes.
Like, they win. I mean, there's no murder weapon. There's no witnesses to the actual murder.
And because they're testifying to the grand jury decides if there's enough to prosecute. And the grand jury is saying after Diane testifies, there isn't.
There's enough reasonable doubt.
Right. So there's like, they can't take it to trial.
He walks. This guy
fucking walks. He murdered her in the middle of the afternoon. People saw his car.
I know. So this is in Chicago, right? But they decide after he walks, they cut their losses and they skip town. And they move to Texas where Donnie's from.
Yes.
So, but there are still a lot of angry clients. Donnie's in a lot of trouble. But Diane, his wife, has a plan.
I mean, Diane's kind of a smarty pants. Like she's good at this.
So, but it's also like, I'm so sick of this shit because she writes a petition to the Texas court.
Yeah.
She said that he suffered from this personality disorder that kind of forced him into getting involved with contracts that were wasteful or damaging.
A Texas judge accepted the petition.
My mom actually became his guardian. She was able to shield Donnie from having to talk to anybody about all of these different things that were popping up at that point.
It's ridiculous, and it works.
And it works. It's like, Diane, were you like the valedictorian of your fucking law school class?
But also, the judge clearly wasn't. Why are you accepting? A personality disorder doesn't make you lie, cheat, and steal.
No.
Like, stop.
No. And it's just like, but
to everyone with personality disorders,
honestly,
it's an insult.
Truly.
Well,
it shields him enough that he's like not in trouble anymore.
The judge accepts the petition, and they're like, okay, great. So he was about to deal with all of his legal issues in Illinois and potentially losing his license.
Yes.
And so to avoid being questioned under oath in Illinois, he voluntarily disbars himself.
Yes.
So no law license. He filed for bankruptcy. Can I ask the room,
please,
dear listeners, is he still allowed to call himself a lawyer? Like, if your law license is revoked or like
I don't
suspended
think so.
for like non-payment or for any other reason,
yeah.
Like, are you still a lawyer or are you just someone who went to law school a few decades ago?
Or somebody who used to be a lawyer.
Like,
you know what I mean?
You
like,
can't actually...
Well, the answer to that is like, if you were a lawyer and you become a judge, are you still a lawyer? I guess you're still a lawyer.
But if your license has been suspended for any reason, like good, bad, or indifferent, if you let the payment lapse or whatever, and it's like your license is not... Like, you can't actually practice law. Do you still call yourself a lawyer? You shouldn't.
You shouldn't. You're not a lawyer.
You just went to law school 20 years ago.
Exactly.
Right?
And you were a lawyer for a while, but you're not anymore.
Well, you know he's calling himself a fucking lawyer.
100%.
But meanwhile, Donnie gets a job investigating government fraud. Keith goes, how delicious is that? Like, his wife, Diane, works at that company as a lawyer. And I'm like, also, can you two do something without each other?
I know.
Can you stop being so codependent?
I know.
Travel down the road and back again.
Girl, Shopify is back. I love Shopify because Shopify makes starting a brand new business very simple. And I gotta tell you, fam, and I see this in the Facebook group all the time. If you've been thinking about starting your new business, 2025 is your year. The time is now.
Yeah, and Shopify takes a lot of things off your plate and like puts it in one area that feel very, very intimidating, and Shopify has your back on it.
Yeah, Shopify makes it simple to create your brand, open for business, and get your first sale. How exciting is it to get your first sale at your new business?
That little cha-ching.
Oh, cha-ching.
So get your store up and running easily with thousands of customizable templates, no coding or design skills required.
Forget it. That is the biggest barrier to entry.
Huge. All you need to do is drag and drop.
Exactly. Their powerful social media tools let you connect to all your channels and create shoppable posts and help you sell everywhere people scroll. We're talking all the things.
So this is what I'm saying. Instead of being like, oh, I got to do this. Oh, I got to do that. Oh, like it's all cohesive.
Yep. And they're going to make it easy to grow the business. By the way, the scary stuff, they're going to help with all of it. We're talking shipping, taxes, and payments from one single dashboard, allowing you to focus on the important stuff like growing your business.
Yeah, like, I don't know, actually growing your business.
I was going to say, you're the creative. Be creative. Let Shopify do all the hard stuff.
Yeah, because with Shopify, your first sale is closer than you think. Cha-ching.
So, fam, established in 2025 has a nice ring to it, doesn't it?
Yeah. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/obsessed, and that's all lowercase.
Go to shopify.com/obsessed to start selling with Shopify today.
Shopify.com/obsessed.
We love the sound.
Oh, man. So it's May 5th, 1995, and Diane is diagnosed with what they describe as an aggressive recurrence of breast cancer.
She had breast cancer a few minutes ago in the documentary, and I didn't even write it down because she was so proactive about it that they wiped it out so quickly.
And now it's back, and it's super aggressive.
And I just was like, does that happen? Like, you can have breast cancer that is removed that was like minor to the point that and then all of a sudden it is terminal.
Cancer is like,
Jesus.
is the fucking worst. Yeah. It's like, it's unpredictable. It's real fucking bad.
And she knows there's like a ticking clock.
Now, Diane is now asking the kids, who Donnie totally dropped and is not speaking to.
His birth children, not her kids. She's now saying to the likes of Teresa, his daughter, because we're told Donnie had, quote, fallen out of touch with the 4 kids he had with Luann. No.
They went no contact.
They went absolutely no contact.
Smartly.
Like 100%.
Now she's asking them to, quote, take care of him and clean up his messes. And Teresa, who's 23, is like, no. Also, I hate him.
Yeah.
Also, he made his messes. He should clean them up.
Or also maybe he should just go to prison for like the murders that he's done.
How about that?
You know what I mean?
Wonderful.
Totally.
Donnie's now off the rails. He's ranting. He's raving. He has information about Whitewater. He's faking cancer again.
I know.
Like, it just never ends with this guy. Meanwhile, his wife Diane actually has cancer.
Yes.
And all of the kids think Donnie's poisoning her to make it worse.
It sounds so bizarre, but I remember sitting in her oncologist's office, and Donnie's in the chair. She's on the table, and she's telling Dr. Jones, I'm sitting there, that Donnie is giving her hormones in her Gatorade. And she's saying he's trying to kill me.
She's got the kind of cancer that like estrogen makes it worse, according to Diane. And she's saying that he is putting estrogen in her Gatorade, putting estrogen in her food.
So maybe it's aggressive because he's making it aggressive.
Oh my God. Like to the point that like Diane is at the doctor with her daughter and Donnie, and she's saying to the doctor, he's trying to kill me.
Like,
and
it's a mess.
The doctor takes the daughter outside and was like, girl, what is going on here?
So Diane's daughters essentially like kidnapped Diane. Just to get her away from Donnie. Because what they're saying is, and it's so dark, but like this is kind of where they are, they just want her to be able to die in peace.
Yes.
Like they don't want things to be worse. He's so chaotic and awful and toxic and mean and abusive. They just want her to have like the last few weeks of her life in peace.
Yes, and they're, by the way, during this time, discovering more jewelry store receipts. Like he's got other girlfriends in other places that he's like buying expensive jewelry for. They're also saying she took care of herself until she couldn't, and then we had to because she knew that he wouldn't.
He wouldn't, and he's making it worse.
Yes.
She's scared of him.
Yeah.
So Donnie tracks them down, because of course he does. And like, it's so sad because Diane is like really excited to see him and she gets all dressed up and the daughters are describing it that like she's just so weak and frail and sick, but like she put on like a wig and makeup, like she wants to look pretty for him.
I
and
know.
It's like this guy is like, and Keith is even like, this might be the saddest thing I've ever heard.
It's so sad. And like
the daughters are like, yup, and it's not over, Keith.
It's not over because Donnie walks in, and within minutes of seeing his wife who's dying and who like just wants him to be nice to her.
So he came to the house and I went in to make some tea, and when I came back, he had opened his briefcase. He was trying to get her to sign things. He had come there specifically to try and get her to sign paper giving him stuff.
Like what stuff?
Quitclaim deed for the house, car titles, things like that.
He's putting documents in front of her, trying to get her to like turn over the house to him, the cars, put everything in his name. And thank God one of her daughters swoops in and was like, no one's signing anything.
Like rips the paper out of her hands. They put an end to that shit. And you know, like.
But as soon as they do, he stays for 5 more minutes and he's like, well, I've got a noon flight back, gotta go.
He leaves.
What a piece of shit.
He's a piece of shit. So Diane dies in June of 1996. Donnie, of course, making it about himself. He's like using fake crutches at the funeral. Like, fuck off.
Yeah.
Now, the kids just want Donnie out of their lives. Like, their mother isn't here anymore, so there's no real attachment to him. Like, they want to go super no contact. They don't even care about charging him with anything at this point. They just want him gone.
Yeah.
But Loretta Bocky's family disagrees because he killed her.
Yes.
So they want him tried for her murder. They are not moving on.
Well, her daughter is like a dog with a bone, this
Stephanie,
one.
she's amazing.
She's incredible. She knows Donnie is responsible for her mother's murder. She goes to see the cops every year on the anniversary of the murder with like cookies and cupcakes and is like, please don't forget about my mother. And then also calls Donnie every year on the anniversary.
Yeah, good for her.
I know.
So this is how shit gets done a lot of the time.
The Kathy from Into the Fire of it all.
So, great, Donnie's married yet again.
I know.
To a woman named Mary, wife number 4. Tells her all the same lies. Within 9 months, she calls bullshit and it's annulled.
Can I tell you, he has a fake Congressional Medal of Honor on the wall at his house.
The amount of effort that shit takes.
I mean, the stolen vow, like that is so fucked up.
Did he steal it from he must have stolen it from somebody else.
No, I think he just like made what he thought one would look like or what he thought she would think one would look like. Who knows? I think it was like a certificate or whatever.
Like the effort.
I know, but it's so fucked. And like when she finds out, she like tries to leave him, but she has to file restraining orders against him because now he's following her around.
Right. And then a few weeks later, he marries Emma, wife number 5. They met on Match.
Yes.
So Donnie and his twin brother are like pretty much estranged.
Yes.
Ronnie hates him. And so Donnie decides, this is always very suspicious. Donnie like never gave a shit about his parents or his father. And now suddenly Donnie decides that he and his wife are going to move in with their ailing father and just take over everything, which is always a red flag.
Well, especially because he cuts off communication with the rest of the family. And within like 3 weeks, he's emailing his brother being like, hey, dad died a few days ago and I buried him yesterday.
Yeah, and you
Meaning
missed
like
it.
before any autopsy could be done and before you were here to be able for him to tell you how I've been treating him.
And of course,
right before he passes away, he's changed his will to leave everything to Donnie and making Donnie the executor of his estate. So he just essentially left everything to him.
Donnie gets all of it.
Yeah.
When I tell you that this shit happens all the time, I can think of 4 or 5 instances off the top of my head.
Really?
Yes, like siblings going insane and making this about them or like manipulating the person to change the will.
Oh my God.
Like this happened to Mike's grandmother and he got to like watch his uncle in court who was a lawyer like fight for it. Like she was totally manipulated by one of the other siblings to change the will and like they couldn't do anything about it.
I mean, it's so, like, the elderly are so vulnerable in this regard.
It's crazy.
And you would think that, like, there's, like, people who specialize in this kind of thing to, like, make sure this doesn't happen.
Yeah. Actually, Saul Goodman did elder law.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. Anyway, but this happens all the time, like manipulating people
Oh, my God,
to
that's
change
right.
the world.
Bonnie Bartlett was on one of those episodes.
Yeah.
She was like, oh, God, she was on that amazing episode of The Golden Girls where she played Barbara Thorndike on The Golden Girls.
Of course.
She was on an episode of, it was like the last thing that she did. She's still alive.
Oh, my God.
But she was, I remember seeing her on an episode of Better Call Saul being like, oh, my God, that's Bonnie
There she
Bartlett.
is. Yeah.
Doing the elder care thing.
Yeah. The elder law. And he was great. They all loved him. He was great. He was doing the bingo nights. Like, he was
but
great.
It's like such a noble profession.
It was when he was still Jimmy McGill, I think. He wasn't Saul yet. He did like go over to that side. Anyway, so we're in the 2000s now, the year 2000, whatever. He's no longer Mr. Kondo. He's now Dr. Donnie.
He's become a scientist. In 2002, he's hired as the chief scientist and director of intellectual property at a Houston-based biotech company.
He made a deal with the government, allegedly. He's using NASA's equipment. He's working with stem cells.
Like making deals with NASA to study stem cells in a gravity-free environment.
But did he?
What?
Or is he just saying it?
And like this journalist who's with us the whole time was like, can somebody show us where he went to medical school?
He does have a website, but no record of going to medical school. Eventually, wife number 5 learns the truth and bails.
Yes.
So it's 2012. The cops are still working on Loretta Bacchi's case. In that investigation, because they never liked Donnie at all, they look into like all of the tragedies that have happened in his life.
Yeah.
They start looking into the death of 19-year-old Noreen, who died in the car crash in 1973.
Which is where we started.
So Donnie later told his stepkids it was that assassination attempt on his life, but they got Noreen. There was that inquest about it, like very, very suspicious.
And it took them until 2012 to learn.
A few weeks later after that is when he gets all the life insurance payouts from his marriage to Noreen. And so he got about $120,000 in a few weeks after that.
Most of that came from an optional additional policy. Donnie was the sole beneficiary. Today, the payout would be worth more than $500,000.
Donnie got a huge life insurance payout from Noreen. Like, they didn't know this at the time.
Right.
That he got a life insurance payout that would be the equivalent of $500,000 in today money.
Yeah.
Remember, he left his family to be with Diane, then left Diane to be with this woman for 3 weeks, gets this life insurance payout, and the next day is back with Diane. Diane knew.
She knew.
She knew.
She knew. So they look at the details of the crime scene again, like all that evidence from 1973. And Donnie said, like, someone tried to run them off the road, but we never found that person. There are no witnesses. Donnie's car barely had any damage. And like, why was the car door open? Especially after everything we just learned about the Ford Pinto.
Yes.
That the doors would jam shut in an impact. But now in 2012, like, they know that about the Pinto.
Exactly.
So for him to be like, the car flew open, like, that is the one car where, like, it was recalled because the cars wouldn't fly open.
Exactly. And also that she had, quote, fallen out of the car and repeatedly hit her head on this rock, and then he dragged her back into the car.
Why would he pick her up? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
No. The cops working the case now, they get in touch with the original cops from the original case, and they're like, we never believed this guy.
But we could, like,
but there's nothing that it was just good to know that at least back in the day, people were like, this is very suspicious.
They knew.
Yeah.
They knew. So the cops need to exhume the body to get answers. So February 2013, 40 years after Noreen died, her body is exhumed. And for the first time, they do an autopsy.
Yes.
And everything they find completely contradicts almost everything they thought they knew or what they were told.
Because in the original case, they said that the cause of death was a fractured spine. And so when they exhume her...
Unlike the original cause of death, the autopsy revealed no fracture in Loretta's spine. The results were checked by 2 more independent medical examiners. All agreed. Noreen Rudd's manner of death was officially changed to a homicide caused by blunt force trauma.
It was all the result of blunt force trauma to the head.
Several times.
He picked up this rock and beat her to death with it.
So Noreen's cause of death was officially changed to homicide caused by blunt force trauma, not an accident.
And when her family reburied her with this new information, they took her married name off of her tombstone and changed it to her maiden name.
Now, the cops head back down to Texas. They track down Donnie Rudd. He voluntarily goes in for questioning, but he can't remember anything. Like, years are going by, and I'm just like, cue Jesse Pinkman. He can't keep getting away with it.
I know. But he says he doesn't realize they're calling him in to question him about the Noreen case. They show him a picture of Noreen. He pretends to not know who she is.
Right. So it's all bullshit. But when they finally arrest him for murder, he goes, which one?
Exactly. Exactly.
Because he's 73 years old now. So he doesn't give a shit, right?
Yeah.
And he's gotten away with it forever. And now he thinks he'll just like talk his way out of it. So they arrest him for Noreen's murder when he's 73. Now, Loretta, her murder is also part of this case. This doesn't always happen. They're using it to get a high bail for him.
Oh.
So, because they like prove Noreen and now they're tying this together. And so his bail is $4 million. But like, they don't always combine cases like this. And we've been seeing that a lot recently, weirdly enough. But it works in our favor.
Well, kind of, because he sits in prison for 9 months, but then at some point, some woman bails him out. He somehow gets some girlfriend from prison who puts up the $400,000 to get him out of bail.
Explain. Make it make sense. I will never understand it.
But, like, what did he tell her?
I don't know. We have a bombshell, though.
Oh, my God, we do?
There's an email from 1995.
Diane's daughters write a book. They don't tell us the name of the book, but the daughters write a book. And in their research, they're going through all of their mom's stuff. They're going through all of her papers. They're trying to get all of the communication between Donnie and the mom. They find an email to Diane from Donnie that says,
"Hi, I'm leaving work early. What did you do with the gun? If the Arlington Heights police find it, they can't trace it to me anyway. I'll see you at home." And then 2 minutes later, I see my mom. "I love you too, but I don't know what gun you're talking about."
So he's talking about Loretta's murder.
Now, clearly, Diane knew something.
I mean, unless...
That wording, where did you set? Like, come
unless
on.
he's like writing her that email to set her up, but why would he do that? That if she didn't know, it would be like tipping his hand. Obviously, Diane knew.
It's a dark and sad reality, but it's true. And the daughters, like the sisters, turn these emails over to the cops to help them with their case.
And they're saying, like, it seems like my mom probably knew.
And so he's convicted of Noreen's murder.
So the documentary ends with everyone being like, you know, Donnie is just like running out the clock. He's like trying to throw every wrench he can in the plan of like the prosecution. We don't even know if like this is even ever going to get to trial. Like, he's trying to basically die of old age before this ever goes to trial. Right. And we don't know what's going to happen, but you have an update.
Oh, I know what happened. So like 2 seconds after the stock came out, like I kind of can't believe they haven't updated it.
Yeah.
He was sentenced to 75 to 150 years.
Oh my God.
And he died in prison 4 years later. He's dead.
Oh, he's dead.
He's dead.
That's so great.
And honestly, the world is a better place without him because he left disaster and death and horrifying shit in his wake. So good.
Ruining the lives of all of those kids. That poor Noreen.
Like 8 kids they chose none of it. Like all the women he killed. God knows what else he did. Like poisoning people. He's just an asshole and he's dead.
Yay!
He's dead.
Oh my goodness, fam. Remember, if you want to join the TCO Book Club, and you should, we are taking it really seriously. Sasha's really taking it and running with it. Go to the Facebook group, look for the pinned post that is a Google form. You just fill that out, and Sasha will be in touch, and she'll let you know when the next meeting is.
Love it.
She's sending out a newsletter once a month. It's very, very cool.
Love it.
What do we do next, girl?
The Whitmans on Discovery Plus. Have you seen this?
No.
What
is it?
It's about a family dealing with a son who killed their other son. So it's very tragic, but the boys were young. It's super highly requested, but The Whitmans on Discovery Plus.
All right. Well, fam, stay tuned for the trailer for that. And we love you. My goodness.
We love you. And remember, Donnie Rudd's dead.
Donnie Rudd's dead.
So that should make you feel nice.
That should make you feel
little
nice.
bit, right?
Yeah. Take that and run with it.
I've never talked about death as much as I have on the show, obviously. And it's I've never celebrated it.
Of course.
As much as I do on the show when pieces of shit like Donnie Rudd are just, we're rid of him.
He's gone.
Wherever he's gone now. Yay.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
My younger son, Greg Whitman, was 13 years old, walked into the door of the house and probably immediately had his throat slashed.
The first thing I think to myself is there's no way that knife did that damage. And if that knife did that damage, I want to see the hands of the attacker.
My older son came down and found his brother slashed 104 times.
The investigation was geared to proving that they were right in their initial assumption that Zach was guilty, and that was it.
I'm trying to help you.
I need to call my mom.
Called 911 and was told to move his brother into a different position than he was in. Got blood on his sweatshirt.
We need to help your brother, okay?
Yes.
Okay, now...
Police force 5 people in total wrongfully accused him, and ultimately wrongfully convicted him, and in the process essentially killed the parents as well. To myself and my wife.
Hold on a second. Okay, you're sure that he's not breathing?
I'm pretty sure his throat's open. Come on, you can't breathe like that.